Hey everyone, welcome to Shelf Life, the monthly series where I look at games I covered about half a year ago and let you know whether they're still in my collection. And this month I'm looking back at games from September of 2024. I covered a ton of them. Let's see which had shelf life. So starting in the crowdfunding corner, we have the Dreams and Mysteries expansion for Lands of Galzyr, the competitive or solo or cooperative adventure game. And I really enjoyed this one. Lands of Galzyr is still a bit too much side quest and read the game for it to be like a top adventure game of all time for me. But I think the additions of the Dreams and Mysteries expansion, giving you kind of more specific things for your characters, giving you another like longer turn campaign to go through so you have a bit more direction. I think it's a lot of really good additions. So actually it's enough that I am hanging on to Lands of Galzyr just to play the expansion when it's all finished. So I guess that's a recommendation for me for the Dreams and Mysteries expansion of Lands of Galzyr. And then the other crowdfunding game for this month is Valheim from the same people that did Deep Rock Galactic. This is a adventure crafting game based on a video game I haven't played. And yeah, this one didn't work that well for me. I really like Deep Rock Galactic, especially with some of the expansions, but I found the crafting in this one highly repetitive, like you were crafting the same basic stuff over and over. There's only 4 bosses, and after you've beaten them all, yes, like they have different scenarios. I don't know. This is just based on the prototype, but I found this pretty disappointing and kind of a letdown overall. Maybe the final game will be great, and for other people's tastes, it might be great already, but for me, Valheim was not that good. This one would be a pass for me. Getting to the release games, I've got Earth Under Siege first. This just ranked very highly in my top stealth games video. And yeah, the stealth in this one is great. It gives a feel of XCOM. It's got an awesome resolution system. I love the dice mitigation in this one. But unfortunately, it was a cull for me, mainly because it is primarily a campaign game. And I didn't love the campaign system. I mean, I think it's good enough. It does the job. But personally, it wasn't a game that like excited me enough to want to play through the campaign for an extended amount of time. I'd rather play some one-off stealth games. But that's Earth Under Siege, still really good, but a call for me. Next is Unsettled, and I've covered this one. You know, we've done this one a million times on the channel. This is a sort of adventure, puzzle, sci-fi exploration game, and I covered this one most recently because they sent me review copies of the 2 newer planets, and I thought the new planets were great. I think I did a video on Patreon for the other one too. I went all in on the second crowdfunding campaign to get all the expansion planets. So yeah, this is still one of my top kind of solo, puzzly adventure games overall. I think Unsettled is awesome. Definitely keeper for me still. Next is Worldbreakers, which pretty much came out of nowhere for me, but man, I really, really like this game. This is a sort of a competitive CCG, but it also has a solo mode that I think is excellent. And there's a different solo mode in the expansion, the Indigo Sisterhood, which I think was one of my top releases from last year in my ranking. But yeah, the solo works really well. The like kind of automa play you're going against is really smooth to play. The core card play of this one is great. I like how they mix like locations and characters and like you're fighting and defending. I don't know, it's got some of that Magic the Gathering feel, but in its very own unique way. So I just think it's excellent. Next is Street Fighter V. What is it? Championship Edition. I only played like the basic retail version, so I know is that finally delivered? I don't know if it's ever delivered. But anyway, I like Street Fighter. This game is clearly, it's from one of the designers who worked on Street Masters. It is clearly heavily inspired by Street Masters, which is interesting because I just played Street Masters and covered it last week and kind of reminded myself about it. And this has some advantages over Street Masters. The big one being that the boss doesn't come out right away, so you don't have like kind of the the way Street Masters can sometimes go, where you just rush the boss and kill them immediately and kind of ignore everything. But in every other way, pretty much, I would say Street Masters is slightly superior. Well, actually, this game is more accessible and easier to run. I do like the core card play and the combos, but the gameplay is highly repetitive. The bosses don't feel that different. The stages don't feel that different. The fighters don't feel that different. So it's cool for like a quick little light game. It does kind of get that Street Fighters feel a little bit, but didn't impress me that much. This one was also a call. That's Street Fighter V. Next is Undaunted 2200 Callisto. This is the newest Undaunted set, and it's the first one that comes with solo out of the box instead of having to buy a separate expansion. And there's a 1v1 kind of war game with deck building and stuff. I think this is probably the best Undaunted has been for solo. I like it here better than in the original Normandy, North Africa reinforcements releases. I do still think I like Stalingrad best as an Undaunted experience because of the really cool campaign mode in that one and how that works. But for solo play, this is probably the best it is. That being said, I definitely playing this one more, I just don't like the way they did their official solo. Yes, I'm biased because I did an unofficial solo mode before theirs, and they did some stuff the same as I did, and some choices I didn't really agree with how they did it. But anyway, Undaunted is still great, and again, this is probably the best way to go if you want to play it solo. It's the quickest purchase. It's a solid production. But yeah, it's just not a system I love that much anymore. That's Undaunted Callisto 2200. That's a call. All right, next is Bullet, Paw and Palette. Not much to say here. Bullet remains one of my favorite games of all time, and the Paw and Palette characters are really cool. You should definitely go for, obviously, Heart or Star first. Those are like the base sets that will get you into the game, but I really like these new characters. They're doing some wacky things. Level 99 continues to be super creative with their character design. Yes, it's Bullet. I love it. I'm keeping it. There you go. Next is the Isofarian Guard. I reviewed the second edition, which reduced the grind of the game some, but dang it, definitely not enough for me at least. If the original game had like a 1 out of 5 for grind, the changes they made in the expansion brought it up to a 2 out of 5. This game has a really cool combat system. It's really enjoyable, but it's not that interesting and varied enough after you do it like 50 times in a row. So I know some people love this game. It is a cool and very ambitious like giant adventure game. The story is actually pretty dang solid, but yeah, I find the gameplay just gets really annoying really fast. This was also a call, the Isofarian Guard second edition. Next is Aleph Null, a small card game that is a reverse deck builder. You're trying to shed cards from your deck to summon this demon, and I find it fine. It's definitely a call for me. It did feel pretty repetitive because like it's the same deck every time. Well, I guess they have some promos and stuff, but and you have to get like the same cards out each time. The combos tend to be fairly obvious, so it's really just kind of about what order you get the cards in. There are some cool choices with like resource management and like keeping cards and deciding when to destroy them from your deck. But yes, this one was just okay for me, not a strong recommendation. That's Aleph Null, another call. Next is a game we've covered many times, Cthulhu Death May Die, and specifically 7 months ago I covered the Godzilla separate expansion that I think maybe you can finally buy. It was like an exclusive for a while. I don't know, Simon's in a weird way right now. Death May Die. The Godzilla expansion, not really recommended unless you just want the big miniature. It is kind of cool, but it's very random. In fact, it's more random than it was in my playthrough because I was like using powers to re-roll his results, but you're not supposed to. So he can just like totally do crazy random stuff in the game. So I don't think it's really that impressive in expansion, but Death May Die continues to be a super fun and exciting game. I especially like the most recent 2 seasons because they add in these artifacts that I think are super fun, a really good addition to the game. That being said, this is definitely not one you need to try to go all in for. I find that like 1 season is more than enough content for me. We don't play it that often, but still, I think it's very good at what it does. Very enjoyable little romp with dice combat and cool character leveling and everything. That is Cthulhu Death May Die. A keep, sort of, except for the Godzilla thing. I mean, I think we kept it, but, I don't really need it. Next is Stamp Swap, the competitive Euro from Stonemaier with a solo mode. I actually quite enjoyed this one. I thought it was a very fun little game. I was impressed that it was so fun because it's stamps, which is not an exciting theme for me. The placement of the stamps and the drafting was really interesting, especially with the core I cut, you choose mechanic where you're like dividing up your stamps and other players are having to pick them. And I thought the solo mode worked great for that as well. But y'all have heard this a billion times before. My family doesn't really play Euros. It's not the kind of game they go for. And I don't, when I have solo playing time, I don't go for a Euro ever really as my first pick. So yes, this one was a call, but totally awesome game. Like I really enjoyed it. That is Stamp Swap. Next, we're almost done. We have Skies Above Britain. This is a World War II Battle of Britain war game. And this is one of those war games that is usually not my favorite, where like you're just kind of setting things up and making some choices, but then there's tons of random resolution. Now, it's very cinematic in that way, and that's something that people tend to like about these kind of war games, but it can also be like a little frustrating if you feel like you don't have too much control. Now, that being said, for my taste, not really usually aligning with this type of war game, I gotta say Skies Above Britain was one of the best I've played of them. So if you like those kind of more random, narrative-focused war games, I think you're gonna adore this one. It is still a lot of fun, even for someone like me who wishes I had a bit more like nuanced tactical control of my fighter planes and stuff. So that is Skies Above Britain, also a call. And finally, we have Bloodstones. This is a competitive war game with solo play. And 7 months ago, I covered both the base game with its solo mode and then also the Dwarves and Djinns expansion that adds a much different solo mode. And this one's interesting. I do not love at all, really, the solo mode in the base game. Well, I won't say it all, but I found the scenario design to be a little iffy. They felt like kind of solvable puzzles instead of really interesting stuff. They didn't use a lot of the mechanics mechanics I like from the competitive play. So the base game Solo I didn't like that much, but the base game competitive play I think is really good. It's a cool combat system where you're kind of drawing tokens from a bag and you can like use them as resources to move or as units to summon. But the expansion, the Dwarves and Djinn, seems way better. But if you watch my playthrough, I got completely demolished because they didn't, at that point at least, rank and kind of rate the difficulty level of the different things you can go against. So I just got completely schooled. But they said for the final release, they are going to like say, hey, this is harder, this is easier, so you can kind of tailor your solo experience. So all that being said, I did keep Bloodstones for now. I'm hoping they'll send me a copy of the expansion, and I want to try it with those new changes and then see how I feel and where I fall out. So, kind of TBD on Bloodstones. I think it might be a keeper with the expansion. But for the base game, I wouldn't strongly recommend it for solo. But for competitive, it's great. If you want a fun, like dudes on a map kind of competitive war game, I think Bloodstones does a good job. So for right now, it's a keeper. So overall, out of 12 release games, I kept 5 of them, which is not a bad showing at all. But let's get to the contest results and see which of you were able to read my mind. All right, so here we go. Let's see how people did. Group 1, Unsettled. 57% of you knew that I would keep that one. Earth Under Siege got a lot of votes, 37%. Unfortunately, incorrect. Going to Group 2, Worldbreakers surprised a lot of people with 30%, and Street Fighter only 14%, so you can see that most people thought I wouldn't keep either of them from this group. In Group 3, Bullet got 81%, one of my favorite games of all time, so people were pretty confident there. Undaunted, 24%. You'll see the percentages crossed over because you could select both as an option as well. Group 4, Isofarian Guard got 17%, Aleph Null got 6%, and I guess, 70, 80% of you got it correct that I wouldn't keep either one. Group 5, man, there were a lot of groups. Death May Die got 75%, very confident. Stamp Swap only 12%, and I think this is last. Guys Above Britain got 21%. Bloodstones got 13%. Oof, that crushed people. That's definitely the one that called away the most people in their guesses. And speaking about guesses, nobody nailed it 6 for 6 in the pairings, but many people got 5 out of 6. And here are the people who did correct. Alan at the top is in red because they said they didn't want to be in the contest. People in yellow who are doubled up and kind of spread around the bracket, they are our Patreon supporters. And I'm going to roll a D12 and see who wins. And here we go. 3, which means Patrick Fawcett. Patrick, congratulations. You are our winner for this month. I'll send you an email, see what you want from my collection, although I did call 20-something games recently, so I'll have slimmer pickings than usual. And everybody else, the contest voting is already in the video description here, so feel free to jump in and guess what I'm going to keep and call as of May. Good gaming, and I'll see you all at the next stop.